Another very wonderful article in the Philelithes, the Journal of Masonic Research and Letters for April 2003, was written by Delmotte Patrice. It's called To the Glory of the GAOTU, the Holy Saint John from an Operative Point of View. Now this is interesting too. He says, most of the sacred buildings, from the megalithic up to the Gothic cathedrals, they were precisely oriented. We're well aware of that at this point. All around the world. The Christian Church changes the solstice celebration of Paeon Good Janus to a more suitable Christian saints, the two Saints John. Now this is interesting because there was no need to reinvent the wheel, so to speak. We simply incorporated the sacred geometry from antiquity, but of course, and we acquire these meanings and symbols for our own use. I mean, this is how it has been done for millennia. We Freemasons do this same thing. And now we find a very interesting understanding of the two Holy Saints John because of sacred geometry and symbolism. Very interesting. See if you can get this meaning here. Of course, the two Saints John days are celebrated, and speculative Masons have been doing this for quite a while too. He says, it is clear that the Saints John are related to the solstice. Interesting. So here we go again. We have cosmological symbolisms using religious people who are the patron saints of Freemasonry. We're always trying to broaden our horizon from this earth-centered life into the infinite cosmological spiritual dimension. We are on the move is the theme in Freemasonry. You never be satisfied and sit on a plateau. Okay, you've achieved a certain rank, a certain status, whatever. That's not the point of Freemasonry whatsoever. The point is continue to excel at sharing the light and doing good to others. That's the essence. Our symbolism helps us do this. This idea of the Saints John and the solstice is interesting. Why did we find in our ritual a geometric figure of a point within a circle with two parallel lines representing the two Saints John and surmounted by the Holy Bible? Now, this is kind of a fun detective mystery story, huh? Could a special ceremony or work have been made during that precise day and kept a secret by the trade? Here's the idea about the point. In fact, the summer solstice was an important day for the operative Masons, not only because it was a day off and the foods were much better than usual. That's good enough reason to make it important. I love food. It was the day where they can precisely determine the truth. Geographical east and west orientation of the future building. Now this is interesting. Catch this. Catch this. This day, the summer solstice, was where we could get to the geographical truth. Very interesting here. This orientation. To do so, they erect a vertical pillar, or maybe the rod of the master could work also. And they watch its longest shadow in morning and evening. Through the course of the day, they record the longest shadow on that stick, that pillar. So beside that, they have to wait one full day and have plenty of time to cook and eat and celebrate the erection of the future building, of course. That's why it was a day of celebration. We are getting at the truth of how to orient our building, and how do we do that? To the cosmos. This is Solomon's temple. This is why we are building the spiritual temple inside of us. We are orienting ourselves from the finite care of the world to the infinite, eternal immortality, of which the reality is. even though we're distracted by this temporary sequence in this world. This is not the final answer. To get to the final truth, they use the cosmological information with the symbolisms that we've incorporated into Masonry. Is that fascinating or what? This is so fun for me personally. You may not get anything out of it. I hope you do. I love this kind of stuff. Gives me a reason to appreciate our rituals better. So, well, this technique was used from time immemorial, from Western Asia all the way to China. And you can see that pole called East in figure 1 next to figure 2 there at the top. We have here the point or pillar. It is the vertical axis, and that's that dotted line you see labeled East. It's representing also the sacred tree or the megalithic stone. This is how they did it at Stonehenge, you know. This is the link between the sky and the earth. In the future temple, the point will be the location of the temple's most sacred place, or the altar. This is the axis mundi. We do this in our lodges. Well, the circle with the parallel lines, what's the idea here? We can note also that on the figure, say figure 2, the relation of the point with the circle and the parallel lines, which is the square. The figure 2 is the layout of the early church. Just the point, the circle, and the square as you see. The center of the church and the place of the altar is the point. The square is the lower part of the church representing the earth. The circle is the dome representing the heaven in figure 2. Interesting. With the increasing number of believers, of course, you needed more space. So the layout of the Roman church changes with a double, triple, or more square instead of a single one that you see there in figure 3. So you see the length of the church extending around the original point, circle, and square. At the end of the Roman period and during the Gothic period, the building of bigger churches and of the immense cathedrals requests a more sophisticated layout. And that's what you see in figure 4 there with the cross. Notice the square through the middle of the cross with the point and the circle at the top part of the cross and the extension and growth of light, knowledge, and orientation. The process remains the same. The pillar, or the point, is for the orientation in the altar place. The circle is for the choir, the most sacred place, and for the dome, which represents heaven. And the parallel lines, the square, is for the believer's place on earth. The geometric figure, the point, circle, parallel lines, was for them the symbolization of the first step on how to erect a building. You see the practical use of the symbolism. They literally, actually created the buildings, the physical, concrete, three-dimensional structures from mere symbols, a point, a circle, and a square. It's beautiful how it works that way, isn't it? As we've seen, the dedication could be closely related to an important trade work, the exact geographical orientation of the building involving the observation of the sun at the summer solstice or the day of the Christianized Roman god Janus. Also, in some operative lodges, 5 candles were placed in the east and disposed as follows: 4 in square, representing the 4 elements, and the 5th candle in the center, like as in our figure. The last candle was lighted only during the initiation or the day of the Saint John. And he asks an interesting question here. Could this last candle symbolize the quintessence or the celestial Jerusalem described in St. John the Evangelist's Gospel, chapter 21 of the book Revelation? You see how fun and interesting symbols are, and they actually have a practical application. Now this is beautifully interesting. This is described by Jim Tressner, who is the author of the book Vested in Glory. It's about the aprons, the cordons, collars, caps, jewels of the degrees of the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. I was given this book as a gift for being welcomed into the Scottish Rite by my SGIG brother Joe Alexander. I have read it. It is absolutely magnificent. It's beautiful. It's beautifully colored.